All right, all hail the princess of singers, the Singer Featherweight. Most of you can recognize that if I lean back a little bit, pretty much right away. It has such a unique design to it, and it's commonly referred to as one of the smallest petite machines that Singer ever made. It was marketed to housewives. The marketing actually included housewives, where they would be shown in different ads holding it like this and just demonstrating how light, in fact, that machine was. And the history on it a little bit, as a quick snapshot, is on October the 3rd, 1933, Singer commissioned the first batch of 10,000 Model 221 sewing machines. And then they marketed them as the Singer Featherweight. They even changed the font lettering, and they modified the Singer Manufacturing Company decal. They labeled it letter M modification, and then they introduced it as at the World's Fair on October 3rd, 1933, as I said, 11 pounds. And so it was known as one of the lightest, most portable, easiest to lift machines for a housewife that they could possibly make. And as some of you might not know, in the 1950s in Scotland, they introduced the 222, which is the Singer Free Arm, and they marketed it in Scotland and then worldwide from 1954 to 1964. And in that time period, they ended up selling somewhere just short of 4 million of those 222s as well. So it's a machine that's been around a long time. It's got quite a following. There's loyal blogs and sites and everything else that just embrace this little machine as, you know, the princess of singers. It's coveted. Funny enough, though, as small as this machine is, on Father's Day, my family gave me a machine that's even smaller, and it is the Singer 20-10. Now, you make the comparison yourself when it comes to this little guy. As a matter of fact, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see them side by side, in a sense, and get a feeling for just how tiny the Model 20-10 in fact is. It's specifically made originally as kind of a toy model, but believe it or not, there's actually folks that use that for stitching small pieces of material and even some patchwork quilting, because it's such a solid little machine that generates a real pretty chain stitch. So the Singer Princess can no longer boast about being the small of the small. I think you'd agree. So I'm going to go in over by the needle. We're going to do a couple of stitch offs on Janey's machine. And you may have seen the posts on Facebook as well. You can see that I've done basically a surface reconditioning on this machine. It's not been repainted. I've used a special process to remove the oils, the deposits, and all the other gunk that gets into the pigment of the paint, and to try to restore the beauty and the luster of this 221. So, you know, again, people are real persnickety when it comes to their featherweights. And so when it comes to the appearance of them, for most folks, that's a pretty critical thing. So, all right, let me flip my screen around and let's do some stitch offs on the princess of Singer Featherweights. And again, I'll just show you my little beauty, my 20-10, to give you a comparison of some of the tiny little machines that in fact have the the branding mark of Singer and even a serial number, and yet are considerably smaller than the very coveted Singer 221. So I'm going to set my little treasure to the side, and I'm also going to show you something else. When I first got Janey's machine, obviously a number of challenges with it, but one of the other challenges was stitch balancing. And most of you that follow me faithfully and you know, watch videos posted and a variety of other things that I do, you may have been aware that I posted a video for purchase that focuses on adjusting tension. Tension is such a plaguing issue for a lot of folks that when it comes to getting that stitch just right, even on a Singer featherweight, it can be quite a challenge. And these are some of the challenges. The top stitch was way off when I first started working on Janey's machine. See if I can get that. There it is. The top stitch was way off. This was the original stitch here on the right, this side over here. And then this was the refined stitch. And if I flip it over, you're going to see the original stitch on the left, and you can see some of the challenges there as well, where we were getting a lot of the tasseling and just some of that modest bird nesting that a lot of you have contacted me about, where you're struggling with your machine getting that stitch balance just right. So it's a process, and some of it is mechanical, some of it is design, some of it is cleanliness. Also plays a huge factor into a machine, whether it's a featherweight or any other machine, getting that near perfect stitch. And I'll just say it outright, there's no such thing as a perfect stitch, but once it leaves my workbench, it's about as close to a perfect stitch as you could possibly get. So big progress from here to here. And I think you'll see that as well when we do some of the sew-offs. We're going to start doing just a real simple sew-off with denim. Denim is a popular material to sew with, whether you're doing repairs, mending, or making maybe purses or other garments. Denim is a wonderful material to work with. And I'm going to go ahead and slide it underneath the presser foot. Nothing big time about this. Obviously the featherweight comes with just a 0.4 amp motor, which is about 1/4 the power of, say, a Husqvarna 21A. But you know what? If you properly restore and service a 221 like this one, this machine can sew side by side with those big boys in the Singer family for quite a distance before it might reach its maximum. And rest assured, 2 layers of denim is nowhere close to maxing this little princess of Singers. So, all right, so here we go. This is going to be 2 layers of heavy grade denim. And I think you'll be impressed with how easily this little princess gets the job done. Here we go. Is that quiet or what? I love the way the featherweight sews. It's got a unique bobbin design. Its hook system is a little bit different, and it just has that pleasant little kind of a chiming as it stitches through various materials. So there's our top stitch. Real nice quality. Spacing, formation is spot on, looking really good. We turn it over, we've got an equally great lock stitch as well. So Janey's machine definitely gets a pass from me as far as going through 2 layers of this heavy grade denim. Beautiful job. So I'm going to set that to the side. So what are we going to stitch off on next? I think what we'll do next is we'll do some of this vegetable tan leather. I'm going to show you a bigger sample of it so you can kind of see the composition of it. It's a very dense type leather. You can see on the backing as well, you've got that leather grain running through it. It's really designed to stand up to pretty much anything, which includes the piercing of a needle. So this stuff is not easy at all to get through, but I think you'll be impressed. Even with this little 0.4 amp motor that this Singer Featherweight 221 has, it still will do a spectacular job of getting through this material with little or no effort. Okay, all right, here we go. 1 layer of vegetable tan leather. Here we go. And I'm intentionally going slow right now, kind of feathering it up and down, no pun intended, featherweight feathering, just to show you that 0.4 amps, when the power is properly restored to it and harnessed, it's more than sufficient to get through leather material like this. And I've got to pull this back. The red against this tan is really tough to kind of see, but the quality of that stitch, as Janey will see when she picks up her machine in a couple of days, is just spot on. The spacing, the formation, everything about that stitch is just absolutely as it should be. And if we turn it over, you can see on the back as well, that lock stitch is absolutely spot on. And you saw yourself and you heard yourself, this little 221 had no trouble whatsoever sewing leather. And yet as you go across the internet, very seldom, and maybe it's just the protectiveness of Singer Featherweight owners saying, oh my gosh, I can't expose the Princess of Singers to leather. That's like, defacing it in some way. You know what? This little Princess really does quite well with leather. It does a spectacular job. And it also does extremely well with this U.S. Army grade canvas. I did some test sew-offs before. I kind of started with 1 layer. I went to 2. 2 was not even enough to challenge Janey's machine. So I finally went to 3 layers. So we're starting with 1 right now. I'm going to go ahead and give it a fold. We're up to 2. And then finally another fold. And we're all the way up to 3 layers of this U.S. Army grade canvas. And I'll show you from the side if I can line up these edges fairly well. See if I can smooth it out. This stuff tends to have a little springiness to it, as you might know if you work with it. But there's our 3 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas, and there's nothing at all lightweight about this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this underneath the presser foot, and we'll see how this little Princess of Singers does with a task like this. And again, when it comes to the U.S. Army, the materials that they use, the grade of canvas that they use, this stuff is designed to stand up to every weather, temperature fluctuations, you name it. And so the piercing factor on this is extremely high. I would put it next to some leather grades and other heavy grade materials when it comes to getting through it. But I think you'll be impressed at how easily this little Princess of Singers with its 0.4 amp motor, again, just a quarter of the strength of, say, a Husqvarna 21A, and yet it goes through it because of the way I prepped this machine and serviced it, just like it's a breeze. So, all right, here we go. 3 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas. Again, I'm kind of messing around with the foot control a little bit just so you can see you don't have to push that Bakelite foot control pedal to the metal, in a sense, to get through some pretty heavy grade sewing for this little Princess of Singers. And not only that, but the boasting rights of Singer Featherweight owners is always the quality of the stitch, right? You've heard it yourselves, you've read it in blogs, you've seen it on different Facebook posts and stuff where they say, we got the best stitch possible. Well, I challenged that in other videos, and I'll challenge it again, but when it comes to Janey's Featherweight, after I've gotten done servicing it and doing that deep cleaning on it, it really does have a spectacular stitch. Both the top stitch, which you can see here, the spacing, the formation, everything about it is just about as good as it gets. I mean, that is an absolutely gorgeous top stitch. And as we turn it over, we've got an equally gorgeous lock stitch as well. And again, we're not talking about lightweight sewing here for this little Princess of Singers. I'm talking 3 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas. There are machines today you can buy at Walmart and other retailers that if you tried to do a sew-off like this, and they boast of those big Taiwanese and Chinese motors, 0.6 amps, 0.9 amps, 1.0 amps, and those machines would struggle with some of the stitch offs we do with vintage machines, which are rated lower than what they're packaging their products at. And again, it's because of the quality of those motor electrical wraps and everything else. They're just made so poorly in the retail circles now compared to our vintage machines that a 0.4 amp 221 like this could outsew a number of those machines that have motors they're claiming are 2 times as powerful as this one. And not to mention the stitch output on those machines would be nothing compared to Janey's machine right here. So this US Army grade canvas, along with the leather and the denim, definitely gets a thumbs up when it comes to this machine being ready to go to work for Janey when she picks it up in just a few days. And I'm kind of cleaning it up a little bit just so Janey doesn't go, oh my gosh, you know, the material and stuff is all over my beautiful finish that you restored. Well, I'll clean it up again before you pick it up, Janey, so don't worry about it. But the Singer Featherweights are wonderful machines. And, you know, from their introduction and their commissioning back on October 3rd, 1933 at the World's Fair, they've been an extremely favored model of the Singer family. And part of their weight factor, if you're not aware of this, is that as you look at the featherweight, and if you might even own a featherweight, you're saying, well, it's all metal. Well, yeah, that's absolutely true, but it's not traditional metal like you would find on a 201 or a 99K or some of those other Singer models. This is aluminum, and that's part of the secret in its 11-pound factor of being so lightweight and so portable. And there's a number of other Singer models as well that were made out of aluminum, and you may know those, the slant needle ones, and some other Singer models as well were manufactured out of aluminum. And that's why I've had a battle since I started this. I'll kind of zoom out a little bit so we can talk face to face. But I've had a battle since I first started doing this almost 10 years ago because, as many of you know, metal scrap people love to get their hands on our vintage machines. And it's not because of their affection of our machines, it's because of the material value of busting them up. And nothing could be more true than the machines like the featherweight and the slant needle Singers, the 301s, the 401s, and other models like that were made out of aluminum, because generally, not always, generally aluminum sells and commands a higher price per pound than traditional metal. So a little machine like this and other machines like this made out of aluminum, to a scrap metal person, they would just be salivating, because it's all about money to them. It's not about history. It's not about the intrinsic value of these incredible machines and the way they were engineered and the way they were put together so delicately and with so much affection at these factories. Some of these workers just had an incredible passion for what they did in manufacturing these machines. Even when the first featherweights came out in the 1930s, a lot of these folks would work at those factories. And coincidentally, Janey shared with me that her mother worked at a Singer sewing machine factory doing work with the machines. I don't remember exactly what it was. I don't think it was so much the mechanical side, but she was in the factories with machines like this. And those people that were there, they saw the care and the attention that went into these machines, would absolutely be galled and flabbergasted at how they're mistreated by these people that see them only as a scrap metal value. And that's really kind of what none of you have ever asked. And I don't know that I specifically shared kind of what got me into this, but it was seeing those ads run in the local papers by these scrap metal people, and oftentimes they would specifically mention vintage sewing machines, knowing the weight of them and the value that they could get per pound. And it kind of launched me into doing what I do, and actually running a counter ad against some of these scrap metal people, advertising, "We'll pay cash for vintage machines," so that I could try to intercept some of them before they fell into the hands of these scrap metal people. And that was a lot of fun, because I would sometimes just barely beat them out in getting a hold of that machine, and I would hear afterwards that they were just angry that they had missed out in being able to bust that machine up, and I was able to save it. So, you know, that's really kind of the origin of and the mission of what I do and why I love doing what I do. And I think why a lot of you love collecting these machines as well is because you get it. You understand the history, whether it's this cool little machine that was, introduced at the World's Fair, or just a myriad of other machines outside of the Singer family as well. They have such incredible legacies, incredible histories, incredible passion points of how they were established. So this is why we do what we do. This is why we're in this circle, this niche of vintage sewing machines. So I just want to thank you all for sharing that passion with me. And I know that Janey as well is excited to, and she refers to this, one of her girls, excited to pick up her girl again and just see what this machine can do. It was sluggish, the stitch was off, as you saw in some of the pictures I posted on Facebook, a number of challenges this little girl, this little Princess of Singers had. No more. She is like she just rolled out of the factory and is sitting on a table at the World's Fair with all of those housewives, and quite honestly, a lot of the men walking by and going, wow, that is a cool machine. That was the beginning of men having this fetish for power tools. So incredible machine. Love featherweights, love all of the Singers, and as you know, a lot of other of the makers as well. So stay tuned, more stuff to come, and appreciate you so much being a subscriber. All right? Have a great 4th of July.